After Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the Bastille Day parade as a guest of honor last year, now French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived in the pink city of Jaipur. He has made his visit to the exquisite Hawa Mahal and is currently visiting Jantar Mantar in Jaipur. You can see there live pictures coming in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi accompanying Emmanuel Macron as he tours the very important heritage site of Jantar Mantar in the pink city of Jaipur. You can see there beautiful pictures, of course, coming in of the two leaders as they tour the pink city. Various sights and sounds are being, of course, experienced by Emmanuel Macron today in Jaipur, and he will be, of course, holding a mega roadshow alongside PM Modi also at Kartavya Path. Remember, of course, he's the chief guest for Republic Day celebrations. We are also going to be taking a deep dive into the trade deals between the two nations too. Remember, India-France bilateral trade has reached a total of $19.2 billion, with exports worth $7.6 billion and imports worth $6.2 billion, making France the 11th largest investor of India. Meanwhile, the cumulative FDI inflows between the two nations stands at $10.5 billion as Macron's visit caps the 25th anniversary celebrations of the India-France strategic partnership. Well, how do we shape the next 25 years for our two countries is, of course, also the big question. Patrikit Pine, international affairs expert, joins us live. We also have Sanjeev Srivastav, foreign affairs expert, joining us live. Sharad Kohli, senior economist, also is live with us on the broadcast. Sharad, some sights and sounds that Macron is experiencing currently before the business aspect of his visit, and we do hope that a lot of business ties will be discussed between the two.
Oh, yes, Uday. Thank you so much. And good evening to NewsX viewers. Well, Macron's visit should give some boost to the macroeconomics of this country, I would say, both countries for that matter. You know, the good thing about Indo-French bilateral trade that I have observed is that it's not a severely lopsided trade. When I say lopsided, I mean it's not that India is importing too much and exporting very less, unlike China. We have a fairly balanced trade with France. So that also opens up a situation where we can get into rupee euro trade with France. I mean, we can consider that, and I'm sure that must be on the mind, because as we've discussed earlier on your channel several times, that for the rupee to become international, for rupee to be traded abroad, or rupee to be acceptable abroad, a balanced trade between the two countries has to happen. When I say balance, that is the difference between import and export should not be very severe. So I think this is a classic case of Indo-French tie-up where we can have rupee-euro trade between India and France. Now, see what we are exporting to France.
Stay with us. Now, in fact, the roadshow has begun of the two leaders as well. We can see these pictures coming in from the heart of Jaipur in Rajasthan, where there are cutouts of PM Modi and President Macron dotting the streets of Jaipur. A lot of crowd has assembled there to greet the two leaders, to welcome French President Emmanuel Macron in true spirit of Atithi Devo Bhava that India stands for, and particularly Rajasthan, of course, knows, since it is such a big tourism hub. Flowers being showered there on the two leaders, a roadshow being held by PM Modi and Emmanuel Macron as we speak. So from a cultural sightseeing tour to now a roadshow as well, Emmanuel Macron really soaking in the sights and sounds, isn't it, Sharad? Your comment on this, and of course you can then go ahead and complete the point you're making.
Well, I think your shots on the screen has also opened the discussion for a cultural tie-up or a cultural exchange between the two countries. And so what I was trying to focus was that leather, gemstones, jewelry, these are some of the main items being exported. And we should not forget that France is world's well-known destination for fashion. And the way Indian textile, the way Indian fashion industry is evolving, I think it opens a lot of gates for the Indian fashion, Indian textile, Indian garment industry to become, original suppliers to the French retailers and the French wholesalers. All in all, I would say Indo-French relationship has always been very strong, and it's got a very bright future, particularly in the situation when India is is about to become the third largest economy in the world, is already the fifth largest. India has overtaken France, ages ago. So now France looks at India from a different perspective. It is no more, that you are a smaller country in terms of GDP and we are a larger country. Now India is a larger country with respect to France, which is why I think President Macron, in fact, any European leader visiting India, and Europe, we all know, is not going through best of its times in terms of economy. A lot of European nations are suffering with regard to their GDP. A lot of nations are in recession as well, or there is a very very nominal or minimal growth, which is definitely causing a lot of issues in Europe, particularly unemployment. Poverty is rampant. I mean, I've never seen the kind of poverty I saw in Europe in a recent visit before. I've never seen people begging on the streets before in UK and other things, which I saw this time. So I think with Europe struggling vis-a-vis economics, I think President Macron to have closer ties with India, whether it's bilateral trade, whether it is investment, I think it's going to bring more benefits to France than to India, Uday, which is why I feel the equations have changed over a period of time as far as Indo-French relationship is concerned. Uday.
Right, let me take that across to our other guests as well. Sanjeev Srivastava, come in here to talk just about this, massive roadshow. Now, this is something that obviously PM Modi reserves for really special guests of India and friends of his. And also, in fact, as they pass through some important heritage buildings, Emmanuel Macron asking the PM and of course the PM telling him about these heritage buildings as well. You can see there, I think they're going through one of the main bazaars of Jaipur, the Badi Chopper, the Choti Chopper, the Johri Bazaar, that's all in that area there. The old area of Jaipur, you can see there those pink shops there. Pink City, of course, is the name of Jaipur. And roads, of course, swarm with people who've lined up to receive and welcome Emmanuel Macron in this manner. And this really is something that is reserved for special guests, this kind of red carpet welcome that has been accorded to the French president. Sanjeev, isn't it?
Yes, I think there are 2 points I would like to make. The first one is that the India-France strategic partnership is obviously having a lot of economic aspects and security-related opportunities. But at the same time, this relationship is based on these shared values, which are being demonstrated by the leaders whenever our Prime Minister has gone there in France. He has visited several historical sites in France, and when the President Macron is here in India, he has first landed in Jaipur, and which is a historical place. So I think this kind of shared values of the two countries bring these countries even closer, and this partnership is even younger. The state partnership is robust. I would say the prospects are very bright, and I wanted to make is that areas of policy initiatives, he has made Indian foreign policy more and more people-centric. If you look at the G20's entire G20 summit, we have our government of India had made it more and more people-centric summit. It became like a Jan Bhagidari. Various cities, various smaller cities were lightened up with G20 celebration. It became the people's movement, people's event, and this is another aspect which Prime Minister Modi has added in his various foreign policy initiatives he has taken. Whenever Prime Minister Modi visits abroad, he has a direct connect with the people there of the Indian origin, and that has also resulted into a lot of benefits for India. And certainly, this kind of initiative, when we are seeing these kind of visuals, it reinforces the fact that Prime Minister Modi believes in the power of people. He knows that ultimately any foreign policy of any nation is ultimately determined by its domestic constituency. This vision, this Prime Minister Modi emptying ground policy considerations to the masses of and citizens of our nation, and which is a very welcome initiative. I totally endorse this kind of exercises whenever it is done. We have seen and we cannot forget the pictures when the former US President Trump had come to India and the Motera Stadium, Ahmedabad, about 1 billion people were gathered there. So I think that such kind of visuals reinforce the fact that Prime Minister initiatives are getting a lot of people's endorsement and support also. So this is, I think, a very significant initiatives Prime Minister Modi has taken. Certainly, with this kind of initiatives, the country's relationship, our relationship with country wherever from the leader is visiting gets strengthened, it gets deeper, and ultimately it benefits the overall strategic partnership, strategic relationship. Let me say another point about India-France relationship. I think this partnership is deepening. Last year we have celebrated 25th year of our strategic partnership. Also last year we celebrated 70th. But this is the end. But a lot of opportunities there for the future, and we have a for the vision. It is a vision until the year 47. Horizon roadmap for India-France strategic partnership is very much there, where we are focusing on security-related issues, our sovereignty, planet and people. There are several segments in this wider vision which both the nations have developed, and I'm sure that whether it is defense or energy or space or environment, climate, digital domain, India-France strategic partnership is going to be further strengthening, and both the nations are also, let me say the last point here, that both the nations are going to be playing a very significant role in preserving and maintaining and strengthening the democratic rules-based order of the Indo-Pacific. France has its Indo-Pacific any topic of the world in Pacific region. This with India is mandatory, and India is the most country, democratic nation in the Indo-Pacific region, and that is another aspect. The Indo-Pacific consideration and strategy of France is also bringing India-France relationship even closer. I see a very bright prospect for collaboration between India and France.
What about trade in specific? Trade in specific. Where do things go from henceforth? Any deals in particular that you believe will be inked on the economic trade sector and aspect, Sanjeev, on this trip? Before I get in Pathikrit as well.
I think that yes, I think the trade relationship is already very good, and as yourself have mentioned in your previous remarks that France is the 11th largest investor in India, and about a cumulative trade is about $10.5 billion in last several years. So I think the trade is already a robust in a robust state, but the prospect for India-France trade relationship is also very bright. As I said, that the France economy, and if you look at the entire European economy, is facing a lot of difficulty, as Dr. Kohli has very rightly pointed out. And to address France's own economic issues and the problems which they are facing because of the Russia-Ukraine war, before the COVID pandemic, and many domestic issues with France is facing, also the European economy is facing. I think their cooperation with the fastest growing economy, that is India, is crucial. And France knows that if they collaborate well with India on the economic matters, it will be beneficial to them. And obviously India will be also benefited. I would say that it will open opportunities for our youth, jobs, go ahead with the more co-production and co-development which we are aiming for. This area from I would say that it is about bilateral relationship. We are also focusing on co-production and co-development, joint research and development. A lot of such initiatives are being taken, and in digital domain also there are several initiatives are being taken, which will open up upper chance and do higher studies, do their research, and contribute to each other's prosperity. So I think if you look at the India-France trade relationship too, that is also going to have a brighter future in my assessment.
I take that across to Pathikrit Pine as well. Pathikrit, I think we've lost Sanjeev there, it seems, unfortunately. Okay, we'll try and get him back. Pathikrit, come in here. Pathikrit, come in here on this roadshow, this massive roadshow. What you make of the fact that this has been also included in the itinerary for today's Jaipur stint of Emmanuel Macron, and also now, as far as what lies ahead today, what are you expecting to be on the table when the talks are held in Delhi.
Uday, first of all, the fact that President Macron has agreed for this Republic Day, the fact that he has agreed for this roadshow, I think many of these leaders, perhaps the kind of confidence they're showing on President Modi, I think they would not have shown had they not been
Prime Minister
confident
Modi.
about the continuity of this government after 2024 election. I think that's a very important aspect of it. Secondly, I think France and India do have a lot of areas of convergence. I think culturally, both countries are extremely rich. They're fiercely protective of their own culture. They're fiercely nationalistic, and they do have a democracy. And I think both the countries feel somewhere being shortchanged by the West. I think the French, in spite of being part of the Western Bloc, being part of NATO, often felt that they have been left out. They have been kept aside because of the independence of their foreign policy. Especially if you look at what has happened in the last few years, there was this AUKUS, Australia, UK, United States, that formation. There was a huge deal for submarines, almost 30 to 40 billion dollars, that was expected to go to the French. Suddenly went to the British and the Americans. So I think they find a lot of areas of convergence for shared development in areas, of course, of defense and aerospace, but also in many other areas. There are many countries, there are many French companies in various sectors who have, been working here for a long time. So I think, the deepening of relationship would be more through foreign direct investments or companies like L'Oreal or Saint-Gobain or Schneider investing more here. So far as today's evening meeting is concerned, I think quite a bit of discussion must have already occurred on India's acquisition of 26 more Rafale plane for the INS Vikrant and 3 more Kalvari class submarine, which is of the Scorpion class being made by Naval Group. I think negotiations are already on. Whether we will see an announcement, formal announcement or not, we have to wait and watch. But I think the biggest takeaway that may eventually happen is that in case of multi-role fighter aircraft, of which 114 are to be expected to be taken by Indian Air Force, there is a strong possibility that India may opt for a G2G deal with France for taking almost 90 to 100 Rafale plane. That is a very strong possibility. And I think the recent situation where you might see, we have seen a little bit of disturbance in the Indo-American relationship on the issue of Pannu, or a little bit of delay on the side of the Americans to agree to the F414G, F414 engine, or certain other irritants. I think India is trying to take the French path while holding the French hand in terms of having technological independence, especially in arena of defense and aerospace. I think that's a big takeaway for me. Secondly, it is also important to understand that India is fast moving from a net purchaser of technology to one which is working on technology development and tech innovation. So I think in areas of quantum computing, semiconductors, biotechnology, electric vehicle, in case of nuclear energy, in case of say 6G, I'm expecting a lot more collaboration between the French and the Indian organizations and companies. And I think France actually believes that India and its stand when it comes to having an independence of foreign policy, challenging the multilateral institutions, questioning their operations, being the face of the global south and the voice of the global south. I think France also believes, given their presence in the Pacific region, Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean region, their interest to be an important member in the Indian Ocean region. I think they feel that India is the correct country, right country to hold the hand of. The most important reason for that is that in 2013, India was among the fragile five economies of the world, fragile five. And from that in 2023 to be among the major 5 economies and to aspire to become a $5 trillion economy in the next few years. I think France believes that the kind of work India is doing in terms of developing resilient supply chain or trying to become part of as a critical economic manufacturing hub for the world, or the kind of efforts being made in terms of linking Indian organizations to global supply chain, I think France finds an opportunity in India's Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative as well. So while some countries might be a little reluctant, uncomfortable with India's strategy of becoming Atmanirbhar, making India instead of being a net purchaser of products, I think France is more interested to become a part of this entire process, much like the Russians perhaps into becoming, a partner in this whole, thing that's happening. For example, Safran has tied up with DRDO for making a completely new generation engine for India's advanced medium combat aircraft, which is a 5th generation aircraft. So I think France is more comfortable than many other countries in terms of sharing critical technology. And the most important reason why this relationship is so critical is that France has never put any strings attached while sharing any critical technology with us. Of course, their stand in United Nations on every issue where they have blindly supported us. Of course, the fact that they did not impose sanctions on us when Americans imposed sanctions on us during the nuclear test India did in 1999 stands as a testimony of how this relationship has evolved over the years. And of course, we must not forget the 40-year-old Mirage 2000 also showed during the Balakot strike what kind of potency it has. So, the future invariably lies in this partnership, which I think France today believes. France has always been like an outlier in the whole Western Bloc. And I think they believe India is also like an outlier. A country which is among the major 5 economies of the world, but still believes that it is the voice of the global south. So I think there are areas of convergence. Of course, Uday, there will be certain areas of status quo and divergence, but I think both these countries are mature enough to deal with it. Last but not the least, the best thing about France, it has never used its NGOs and think tanks and media to create problems for India. That is a very important thing that we must understand.
Yes. What about trade, particularly the trade aspect? I wanted to weigh in on that as well, and also cultural partnership. As the PM and Emmanuel Macron right now are at Hawa Mahal, we can see them now, looking at that majestic Hawa Mahal structure, which is in Jaipur, of course, in the heart of the Pink City, not too far from the City Palace there. In Jaipur, and we can of course see Emmanuel Macron is very impressed by this structure. He's been explained the significance of it. PM Modi of course is with him as well. The cultural partnership between the two nations is perhaps going to be more solidified through this experience and sojourn in Jaipur, Patikrit, but also your comment on trade ties. Very quickly.
Number one, Uday, of course, in areas of tourism, I think the French love traveling, and I think India, Prime Minister Modi, over the last 10 years, we have seen how he has promoted different parts of the country and not just Delhi. So I think, India gets a great opportunity to showcase beautiful places like Jaipur. Secondly, in areas of trade, as Dr. Kohli rightly mentioned, because we do not have in areas where we are competing with each other, because the products we take and the products they take from us there's no competition. So they complement each other in some way. So the potential possibility of a free trade agreement being enhanced the way we have one with Australia, which was recently signed, I think it's far more, pragmatic, far more possible than perhaps a full-fledged free trade agreement with the whole of European Union. That is more important. I think more than the free trade agreement, I think the Indian government will be more interested in the French companies investing in India and being part of the Make in India initiative. Back to you then.
All right. Well, I'm completely out of time, but I'll give 30 seconds to Sharat Kohli. Last word.
Well, my last word is that there are three problems that France is facing these days. One is unemployment, as I said, bit of sluggish growth and lagging behind in competitiveness. I think India can, the whole paradigm shift has been India used to look forward to these countries to come and invest. We are here with a begging bowl. The tables have turned completely. It is France which will be looking for more opportunities to connect with India. And that is the beauty of the relationship, that we are now on the same platform. We are not standing with a folded hand, sir, please come and invest here. We are a country of, opportunities. It is now a two-way process, which is, I think, the biggest takeaway for me, Uday, that we are standing on a level platform. And as much that we expect from France, France would also be expecting in a very positive way from this country. Uday.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. We, of course, continue to see those pictures there. The two leaders also now exploring a bazaar of Jaipur, some mementos perhaps being taken back by Emmanuel Macron from the Pink City. My thanks to our guests for joining us. A quick break on that note.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.